Hey everybody, I just wanted to talk today about the marker design that I've been working on. I had a lot of help from other people on the original concept of this, but this is what I came up with and I wanted to document it so it's a very repeatable process. So what we have right here are all of the pieces that are necessary to build this marker. So we start with our 4-inch PVC. We have a 3/4 inch PVC that is 41 1/4 inches long. We have our trap. We have the eye bolt that goes on the top. We have the foam, closed cell foam that's going to give it buoyancy. We have the bottom, which this is a 4-inch to 2-inch adapter. And then we have a 2-inch to 3/4 inch bushing. And this is what the pipe is actually going to go in. And of course the rope and the cam that's going to hold the rope in place. Over here we have all the tools that are necessary to make this happen. We'll be talking through these tools as we go through. Each one has its own use case. We're going to be using this to push the foam down and make sure we have everything at the right height. This to weigh the rocks out and make sure we have the right weight in the marker itself. We have to drill various pieces. We have to put the PVC together and then cutting and marking pieces. All right. So let's start with the top. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about this eye bolt. So the eye bolt itself, it comes with a nut with it. I bought an additional lock nut. And with that, we also have 2 lock washers at 3/8 inch and 2 standard washers. I'd prefer 1-inch washers, but I was not able to find them at the store today, so this is what we're going to be using for today. We'll be drilling a hole through the top of this with a 5/16 inch bit, and then we'll put this through and then lock everything together. And this will sit on the top of the trap. We'll actually be connecting this to the 4-inch PVC with PVC cement so that this stays on permanently, and then the access will be via this screw on top. The foam here in the middle is what gives it buoyancy. So what we're looking for is a total of 20 inches of closed cell foam. I don't have a way to drill a 20-inch hole down the middle. I had a 4-inch bit, so I cut these into 4-inch pieces. So that's why we've got 5 of them to give us the 20 inches total. The bottom of this uses the 4-inch to 2-inch adapter, and then the bushing will go inside of it. The biggest challenge on this project is actually around this bushing. These bushings are made so that the 3/4 inch PVC pipe goes this way and then comes out from it. We actually need the PVC pipe to come this way because it's going to be going up the 4-inch PVC pipe up most of the way through. So we'll actually have to drill this out. And then the other challenge is the outside diameter of a 3/4 inch pipe is slightly bigger than 1 inch. So once we drill this out, we'll have to bore it to just make it big enough to get that pipe through. Then we'll be connecting this up with cement and attaching this to the bottom, and we'll go through that. All right. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a hole in the top of the trap so that we can put the eye bolt through. So I'm going to score this right in the middle just to make it more accurate. And this just makes it easier to stay into the notch with the drill. So this is where I take the 5/16 inch bit, I put it right there at the score mark that I just made, and I drill in. There we go. So now we've got our hole in the middle. And the eye bolt will not completely go through. And this was done on purpose to make sure that the eye bolt stays tight. So I'll take my washer, take my lock washer first. Then I'll take my regular washer. And then we'll put this on and start threading it in. Good, stop. All right, so we're almost done. I'm just using a a screwdriver to hold in the eye bolt and twist this down. Now that we've got it in place, we'll put the other washer on the bottom side. Put the lock washer in. We'll put the lock nut on, and then we'll tighten it down. All right, to finish this up, I switched to a 9/16 inch deep well socket so that I could just tighten this up. All right. So one of the things that I found while I was doing my testing is that if the way the tube comes up and the way the foam holds and it's secured together, this creates like a self-bailing effect to the water. So the water will start pulling itself back down if water gets up into that upper section. I've tested this numerous times by literally taking the marker and pushing it completely submerged underwater, letting it fill up with water, pop back up, and you'll see it actually lift back up. If the lid is off, you can actually see the water dropping back down the tube. The challenge that you have is that the tube, once this lid is on, it creates like a vacuum effect. And what that will do is actually cause the water, as it comes into the top, to not be able to go back down, because the vacuum that it's created doesn't give anywhere for that water to go. This is actually an easy fix for that I found. It's literally an 1/8 inch hole. So I took an 1/8 inch bit and just go through the top. Anywhere off to the side is perfectly fine. By putting this little simple hole into the top, this gives it the air that it needs to be able to self-bail if water starts getting into the top. So this was an easy fix to a problem that I was struggling with at the beginning. So that's something to remember to do as you're finished putting the eye bolt on. Go ahead and drill that hole so that you have that piece in place. All right, now that we have the eye bolt on the top and we can easily screw this in to see it's tight, we're going to attach the top to the 4-inch PVC pipe. So we'll take our PVC, we're going to push this all the way down. We're going to use a rubber mallet to make sure it's on there tight. Now, you may be asking, why would I want to put this on beforehand when I'm getting ready to cement it on? The reason is that it's very common for this purple primer to go all over the place. And to keep our marker looking good, we're going to take some electrical tape and wrap it around the bottom of what we have marked to secure the area for the purple primer. So put the tape on, go all the way around. All right. Now that we have the electrical tape on here to mark where the purple primer and the cement is going to go, we can move on to the next step, which is actually securing this on. It is very common for the PVC to not want to come off easily. So again, that's why we have the rubber mallet. We'll just take the mallet and we'll start tapping from the bottom and push it back out. All right, now that we have the marker taped and we know exactly where we want to prime and cement, we will take our purple primer and get the lid off that. This stuff can be very, very messy. If you haven't used it before, a little bit goes a long ways. So pull off as much as I can. And purple prime it. As you can see, it's already going down if I didn't want to. The purple primer adheres with the PVC to help it receive the cement and keep the cement on tight. So now we'll go to this side. We'll do the same thing here. Prime it up. Okay. Now that we're primed, we'll go to the cement. We're going to do the same thing. Put on, a little bit goes a long way, so I'm going to pull as much off as I can. Then go back on here and just smear it on. A little bit more. Go to the inside, smear it on. Alright, then we'll put this on the top, take our hammer, and just let it sit. Takes a little bit of time, not too long, probably 10 minutes, and it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to get back off. So we'll just leave that right there for now. So now that we have the top sitting here and it's drying with the cement, we're going to move on to the bottom. So the two parts of the bottom are the 4-inch to 2-inch adapter, and this will be doing the exact same concept on the other side. We'll be purple primering it and then cementing it in. This other piece will be doing the same. This is the 2-inch to 3/4-inch bushing. We'll be putting it in here and priming it and cementing it in. But as I mentioned earlier, the biggest challenge is the PVC pipe, the 3/4-inch, needs to come back up through this side. So now we're going to go through and bore this out so that we can get the pipe through. I'm going to be using a 1-inch drill bit. I don't have a standard bit. This is a wood bit for going into logs. So it's not as efficient as I would hope that if somebody else has, but it's what I've got. So I'm going to be taking this and then slowly drilling this in and locking it until I get this bored out. It'll take a few tries, and then once I get the bit through, then I can start working on boring it out. So I've got the bit now so that it's going completely through, and I've started boring it out to make everything fit. An easy way to test it is to start from the other side and start pushing and see how far back into it you can get it to go. Notice that mine is almost there. That tells me that I've almost finished boring it out. So I'm going to finish boring this out, and then we'll put this thing together. All right, now that I've finished boring this out, I can take the 3/4-inch PVC, push it through, and I see that it comes through at the end. That's what we're looking for, is to make sure that we can line it up at the end. Now we can put all of this together to finish up the bottom part of the marker. So to start, we're going to take the 4-inch to 2-inch adapter, push it on just like we did the other side, and then we're going to take the electrical tape and retape this side. Now that this is taped off, we'll take our rubber mallet, knock this back off, and then we'll start prepping for the cement. So as I was prepping the pieces, I noticed that some of them are dirty. When you've got dirt that's part of your PVC, that doesn't help the adhering of the cement. So I took a little bit of alcohol with a paper towel and I'm just cleaning this off. And you can see I've got quite a bit of dirt already pulled off of it. But this will just make everything last longer in the long term by making sure you have clean parts. So that's something that I would recommend for a longer lasting marker. All right, now that we have finished cleaning everything out and getting ready, we're going to go ahead and start putting all the pieces together. So again, we'll start with our purple primer. And the first piece we're going to do is the 3/4 inch PVC. So I'm going to clean this off in the middle here. And we'll go to the end of the PVC. Now you'll notice that I'm not as concerned about this PVC pipe with making sure that it looks good. All of this is going to be inside of the marker, so it's not nearly as important for the aesthetics. Okay, now that I have it marked, we'll switch over to the cement. Okay. Cement the inside of this. Now, if you'll remember, this thing is made for the PVC to go in this way. We've bored it in this way. So now we're just going to take this, slide it in, and get it right up to the top. We use our finger to kind of even it all out. Make sure it's straight. There we go. So that is step one. Now that we've put the 3/4 inch PVC in, we'll go back to the purple primer and we're going to prime up and prep the bushing. So for this one, I'm going to try to stay on the lower half of the bushing just because I know the bushing sticks out further than the edge will actually show me here. Okay. Now that that's done, I'm gonna come here, purple primer this. Now we go back to the cement, do the same thing. Cement the inside. And I'm again going to try to stay on this edge. And then come through the top here. Push this down. And then use my hammer to securely put it in place. So this is going to be the section where the rope will go through and up through here to get to the top section of the marker. So as we put this down through here, this is how it's going to sit. We need to be able to remove this periodically if we need to adjust the weight that's in the marker. So the gravel that we put in, I've measured to 5.5 pounds. That's what we're going to be putting in for this marker. But if there's some kind of situation where it needs to be higher or lower, we need to be able to remove this. So instead of actually securing this with cement, what we're going to do is push this all the way down where we're ready to go. And we're going to take just a simple screw, and we're going to put the screw through here. PVC by default does not want to separate. It really adheres well to itself. So if we take this screw and we put it through, that's going to keep this marker from being able to fall apart. And we'll have to take this screw off to be able to lift this back up to adjust any of the rocks. Okay. So the foam, we want to be 10 inches from the top of the 4-inch PVC. Now that we've already put the top piece on there, there's an 1.5 inch additional gap right there. So I've taken a 3-inch PVC pipe and cut it to 11.5 inches. I'm gonna put it down on the ground and then put the pipe over top of it. And that's going to be my stop for the foam so that I know the foam will go exactly where I want it to go. Now that I have that, I'll take my first piece of foam, I'll start working it through, and then I'll take the other piece of 3-inch pipe that I have and use it to push the foam down to the bottom. It is important that the foam go all the way down to the bottom. That 10-inch gap is critical for the buoyancy calculations that I've used. Now that we have the first one done, we're going to go ahead and put the other 4 pieces in. Keeping in mind that each piece needs to be very tight against each other. This is very important for the water that's going to be moving through this marker. We want to make sure that we have very little gap in between, which holds very little water in between the pieces of foam, and because this goes in also into the calculations of the buoyancy. And that's all it takes to get the foam in. So now that we've got the foam pushed down, we're going to test and make sure that we have the correct height and everything lines up for the pipe. So to do that, we're going to push this down into it. It's going to be very tight, but as long as the holes are centered, we'll be able to go all the way down. Take this, push it into place. Now we're going to pick up our marker and look at the inside. And if everything came out right, you'll see that the end of the PVC, 3/4 inch PVC, is exactly at the end of the foam. That's our target. All right, so the next step is going to be to drill the holes into the bottom of the marker. And this is what's going to let the water flow through and allow the marker to maintain its buoyancy upside down. Now there's a couple of things that I would recommend, because whenever you're cutting holes into PVC pipe, you're actually damaging the structure of the pipe itself. So the way I like to do it when I'm drilling holes is make sure that I make like a triangle. So I'll drill a hole on one side, I'll drill a hole down from that, add like a triangle off of that, and then come down another triangle and just kind of circle around. Now the other part is you want to make sure none of these holes go above where the PVC is. Now, or sorry, not the PVC, the foam. The foam is 19 inches from the top of here. So if you use a tape measure, you'll be able to measure down and make a mark of that 19 inches to make sure that you don't get into the actual foam itself. So now I'm going to mark it and I'll drill the holes so we can move to the next step. So I've gone through and cut the holes in to the marker. I used a 3/4 inch hole drill bit for this one. That may be a little bit big for some people. Personally, I like to make sure that I get a good solid water line in here. The downside of this is you have to make sure you use gravel that's large enough that it's not going to come through these holes. So if you use a smaller bit, you can use smaller gravel. The size of these holes really doesn't matter towards the design. What matters most now is making sure we get good water flow and we keep the correct amount of weight, which I calculated to 5.5 pounds, within the marker itself. So now that we have our 5.5 pounds of rock, which you can see we've weighed out there, I'm going to take this tube, push it back through, and get it part of the way down. So at this point, I've left enough gap that I can get the rocks in. So now I'll slide the rocks in. Looks like I'm gonna have to get a different rock for this one. That's okay. We'll put the rest of the rocks in. All right, and now that our rocks are in, we'll take this hammer and tap this down. Now, you'll notice that the tube is slightly off. This is going to be from the rocks that are in it. That's okay. That's why we use the Schedule 40 PVC. It'll be able to flex enough, it won't be a big deal. So now we have our rocks in, we have the tube through. The rocks are going to drop to the bottom. If we look back at the tube in the bottom, you'll see that it fits perfectly to the top of the foam, which is exactly where we want it. Now we can finish up. So one thing that I will do to finish, you'll notice that I did not cement this in. So I've got this one screw right here. When I'm ready and I've got everything done, I'll put a small hole in here with the drill and then put this screw in just to hold it in place. That's why we have the Phillips screwdriver in our tool set. And this will hold this in place without any problem whatsoever. Now, we can go ahead and finish up. So we've got 25 feet of rope that's already pre-cut. We'll go flip this back over, feed the line through. Now it's through. We can pull the rope the rest of the way through easily. I'm going to leave a little bit hanging out for now just for testing, but we'll be able to take this cam, and this was specifically purchased for this specific rope. I can put the cam, I'll put the rope through the cam, and I could tie a knot in the end, and this will keep the cam from ever just sliding off, so I won't lose it if we do drop it for some reason. So now, as we need to have the rope defined, we've got the cam on here at the bottom. So once we put the anchor down, we slide this down. You'll notice that there's a jam right here. That's why this is called a cam jam. And you can lock this right here. It'll still slide if you need it to slide out. So we can slide it through if we need to give us some more space. And then we can put it to the bottom. We lock it in place. Now, what I like about this design is it's a little harder to get this cam down in there because you'll have to push the marker down in the water and then slide the cam down to it and then lock it into place. So once it's locked, it's going to hold, everything's good. The downside of that is you do have to push this all the way down. The nice part of this though is that once this is down and in place, this centers the cam within the marker itself and it's all the way down. So there's not additional content in the way that's holding the marker from being able to hold the rest of the rope easily. So now, as you can see, the cam is all the way to the bottom. We have all this open space for the rope. I will tie the rope, or just wind the rope real quick. Easily slides down in. And then we take our lid, spin it on, and the marker's ready to go. At this point, we can line it, we can tape it, we can do whatever we want. We'll pull this tape off that I'd originally put on for the primer, purple primer, and now we're good to go. If you're a little more careful, you won't have a little streak like that. That was a little mistake that I made, but as you can see, we have a working marker.